Gaming Guild presents the That Pun podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of our Fireside chat. I'm joined as always by the lovely Bertie. Say hello, Bertie.
Hello, Bertie.
And Ash. Say hello, Ash.
Hello, Ash.
And the fabulous Andy. Say hello, Andy.
No.
Right. Okay, we'll go back to Lily Poop Andy.
Yay!
Cool. So on this episode we're going to have a chat about characters, creating characters, inspiration, favourite classes, how you play them, all of this sort of stuff. As well as a bit about character death as well. We have some experts around the table on that, but we'll get to that later. So, first off, someone want to jump in. What's your favourite character class?
Class. Oh, now. I'm probably going to go very simple, barbarian.
Why?
Why? Because it's bloody easy to play. I don't. Honestly, I struggle to retain detail, so trying to remember all of the nuances of trying to run a spell-casting class would be a nightmare for me, an absolute nightmare. Whereas with a barbarian, I know, I'm going to rage, and then I'm going to twat it with my big hammer. And that's it. That's pretty much all I do, and that works for me.
Do you find it easy to get inspired when creating a barbarian character in terms of character background and...
Yes, because I'm a grumpy old man that gets quite upset by the simplest things and will twat anything anyway. So, I mean, yes, to be honest, it was my first ever character. My first ever proper character was Thorin, who was a barbarian, half-orc barbarian. And he's probably the character I relate to the most. You know, I thoroughly enjoy playing him throughout the number of different sort of, I think I've taken him in 2 different campaigns. I'm looking at you, Ash, not the Lord, but yeah. So partly because he was my first, and
You always remember your first.
I do. You do, and partly because I found him so easy to play. So yeah, there's no sort of hard science behind it. I'm not saying that they're the best class, but they're my favourite because of the simplicity and how they work. And also, you know, I can play into the role. You'd imagine that a barbarian, and again, I don't want to stereotype them, but you would imagine a barbarian is probably not the sort of sharpest tool in the box, and therefore I can relate to that.
Very nice, too. And what about you, Ash?
This is a really hard question for me because I don't play very much. Like, I only one game I normally play. So I'm normally the DM. But I also have I don't have any experience of playing some classes, so my kind of experience pool is limited. If you held a gun to my head and made me pick a class, I would probably say Warlock. Because I'm saying Warlock. And because I like the kind of pure unbridled power, and I like them devoting themselves to this almost unknown entity, because you never quite know how the DM is going to deal with that patron or what they're going to do. Some of the subclasses are really cool as well, and things you can do with them. And that one was a Warlock.
So you always find the backstory nice and easy to create and...
So that's... The flavour of the character is more important to me. I guess that might be why I find it hard to pick a class out, because the way I make a character, I come up with a concept first, and then make the class fit the concept rather than thinking, today I'm going to play a sorcerer, so now I need to make a sorcerer. So like with Zaphon as an example, I wanted him to be that kind of religious cult fanatic kind of person, and the Warlock lent itself to that better. And then other characters I would make the same way. I come up with the end kind of goal of what I want my character to be, and I make the classes fit that rather than the other way around.
And what class of patron was that from? Was he an obsidian class or? See what I did there.
Zaphon went to patreon.com/charity D&D and subscribed at the highest level he possibly could.
Thought he would.
Yeah, which currently is the ruling council, because Obsidian tiers are all sold out. Sorry, John, I hijacked your show for a plug.
Nice plug.
Shameless plug.
How about you, Bay?
Somewhat similar to Ash, I definitely haven't played all of the classes because I tend to come back to the same ones. I always tend to avoid magic because it's confusing and scary. I love monks because they're similar to barbarians in the way it's kind of like hit, but I think they've got a little bit more flavour to them. So if you want to play a monk, you can be like, oh, I hit him in the face, or you can be like, I spring off that tree, and then I do a backflip, and then I chop his head off with my foot. So it depends how you play it, but for me, monk's always been like a fun one.
You've got very sharp toenails.
Very sharp tones. Well, my favourite one was a tabaxi, so she did have claws. So she could have the potential for slicing.
Am I thinking?
Yes, mouse.
Mouse.
Because she got pulled from a couple of different games. I played her in a campaign before I joined the guild.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of her original story, and that was really fun. I played with some friends. So then I was like, when coming into this, I was like, I know her, I know how she works, I'm comfortable, let's bring her into this as like a safety net.
Well, what made you choose a French accent for this?
I like playing with accents, and the accent she has isn't necessarily the one. I know he said French. It's
Was it French?
No.
Was it French?
What was it?
It was like Russian or something, wasn't it?
She would talk like this, and it was a bit. I don't know if it was necessarily a certain place, but
For some reason, I'm like, that is French.
it definitely probably didn't start sounding off like that. I think it graduated into that, and so I found with a lot of my characters they start off one way and then end up somewhere completely different.
I think that's okay, isn't it, over the course of finding the character and working it out. I don't think anyone ends up at the end with the same character they started with at the beginning, really.
No,
So
that's fun.
I think most people who joined one of the November games saw Mouse
Yes.
come smashing up out of a big hole in the ground and flying up into the sky after, was it a dragon, if I remember right?
Yes.
or something?
Yeah, we were chasing a
Draco Lich, wasn't it?
dragon. Yes. Which was fun because the actual episode that the game played before that I missed. So I was one of the games.
That's what we did last week.
So I was as awed as everyone else, being like, "What are we doing? What? This is so cool."
That's amazing. It's amazing. And I'll keep going round in the same circle. So
Well, you haven't gone with your own choice.
Yeah, what's yours? What's your favourite?
Cleric. Has to be a cleric, I think.
Really?
Yeah. I love playing the cleric.
Lane?
Mm.
Come on, does anyone answer it? Does anyone answer it?
What, for domain?
Yeah.
Do you like domain? Really?
No, come on.
Haven Vessel?
Oh, Haven Vessel. That is a charity gaming guild. Close by play.
Did need a revamp because it had some.
Revamp was more like a rewrite.
So we're playing it in one of the games. I was just playing as the All Havens Vessel. Fun class, but there was some weird stuff in there, like, and there's no time limits on some of the stuff. So it's like you reach out and you make a character sing. That was it. There's no save for the character, no end time, nothing. So yeah, I think there's a kind of stewed monster singing still, probably.
Yeah, we've reviewed that though, haven't we?
did, yeah, got reviewed.
In the most recent book as well, it's been reviewed 2024 as well.
And that book's available, isn't it?
It is actually available. You can go to patreon.com/charity D&D. Click on the shop section and buy the PDF now.
That's fun.
Like.
So I love playing Cleric. I think it's, for me, I find the background's nice and easy. In terms of hooking it into whatever story, it's always fairly easy to do. They can be offensive, they can be defensive, they're useful to the party. Depending on deity, it makes it easy to roleplay, I think, as well.
When you say they can be offensive, what you mean? They come up to you and say, "You're shit."
Depends on the god.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting because I don't know if it's because of the people that I originally started playing with, but I always thought of the cleric as like the dump stat of classes. It was the one that people picked because I'm gonna need a cleric sort of thing. So whenever I played them, it was because, I think maybe the team needs a healer. But actually, they're a lot more versatile than you think.
Moonbeam, Guiding Bolt, got loads of different really useful spells.
Mm.
I think you need to for me, I need to, when I'm making a cleric, I need to decide what it's going to do, because it's got enough spells and things to be like DPS almost if you build it that way.
Yeah.
But you can't build it to do a bit of everything. Grid doesn't really do any of it very well. So you need to kind of pick,
Lean into it.
lean into it. Like if you're going to be a support for everybody else, you take buff spells, you check which ones need concentration, try not to overlap so you can actually do more than one thing, because a lot of the spells need concentration, and I quite enjoy that kind of aspect of building a character as well, going right, what's the spell combos, and in a fight what's going to follow what.
What's interesting is you said your favourite class was cleric.
Yeah.
And this campaign you're playing a
Wizard.
And you said your favourite class was
Barbarian.
And in this campaign you're playing a
Ranger.
And then Bernie, you said your favourite class was
A monk.
And in this campaign you're playing
A
a
fight.
So why did none of you pick your favourite class?
I mean, yeah, good question, isn't it?
I guess for me, I just wanted to try something different. I mean, I still avoided magic user, and I had in my mind. I think I came up with my character personality first, and to me, being a coward would lend itself to being a ranged attack, because that way you can sort of sit back, avoid all the risk of being attacked, certainly by melee opponents. Hide behind something big and solid if you need to, but then pop up and shoot things if you needed to.
Did you consider rogue at all for G?
I don't want to give too much away, but actually, one of the things I am considering is dual classing as
multi-class dip?
a bit of a multi-class, so multi-class a rangy rogue.
That would work, wouldn't it? Because you're a range-based character, so your dex is probably high enough to be a rogue. So.
Also, I'm thinking back to the original kind of pitch for the podcast, and I felt like, because I think both of us originally chose a rogue character, and I was like, it was fun for one, but it wouldn't have worked if we kept on, because we were just trying to steal off of each other constantly. So I was like, maybe you'd be feeling like you'd be going for a rogue again. So I was like, I need to do something else. Had an idea of the kind of person it was, and then went, okay, what class fits into that? And I'm thinking of multi-classing as well.
Oh, yeah.
I was seeing how things progress forward, but it just felt like the basis of her was she was like a bodyguard. That's what it was. Brought up with brothers and stuff, so it was very much be one of the boys. They necessarily, given my tidbits here, some of them didn't necessarily follow that path, so she felt like it was her responsibility to, okay, well, a fighter is someone who would be taught in that kind of thing, whereas a monk, I think, is very specific as to how they're taught their way, whereas a fighter, it could be anyone. You could just be joining the local garrison or just in your village, kind of militia, whatever it is, so it's a bit more open rather than being more strict.
So I decided to go for Wizard because I think when we first discussed this, I wanted to do something that tied in to something in the All Havens that was cool, which was the Extra Academy. So I've never played a Wizard before. Always looked at them, and because of the complexity and the amount of spells and stuff like that, I thought I've never wanted to do it in a full-length campaign or for a one-shot, really, because you don't get time to learn it. Yeah. So starting at a low level, give us a chance to build up. Also with Adonis, I decided pretty early on he's a bit of a naff wizard. He only really does fire stuff. It makes things like spell choices really easy. It's like, I've unlocked some more spells. What's the next fire one? Kind of thing.
And how did Adonis serve time in the Galvatraz?
The what? The Galvatraz?
No Galvatraz.
No.
It's a prison that one of the games I used to run, where this self-appointed challenger to the council decided that all magic users were evil, and they would just take them and imprison them.
No, he'd been tucked up for most of his life in the university. Hence, he's out exploring and stuff. So yeah.
And
the idea came.
His choice of familiar as well is super not suited to the outside world.
Absolutely. That's it. Yeah, he's a useless wizard basically. He's been
pretty useful so far.
Some life experience basically at 70 or whatever he is. I thought it'd be fun. See what it sounds. So, how you said about your barbarian character that you got really sort of attached to at the start. How did you make your barbarian feel unique?
Yeah, there are two things fairly unique about Thorin. Firstly,
Listeners might recognise a theme here.
one of them was the toilet-related incidents. Thorin would, at any opportunity, have some sort of toilet incident, including the fact that he had a pet squirrel that he would keep and feed. But he would use the squirrel's tail as toilet paper because he realised that when squirrels shit, who doesn't stick their tail? So he would use the squirrel's tail as toilet paper. I even printed a little figure of Thorin and I had the squirrel on the base with him. So that was one of the things. But the other things that made him unique was actually not actually my decision. It was something that was done to me, my character. Can I elaborate? Can I tell us the full background story?
Sure.
So in one of the campaigns that I was playing in, Thorin died. He was left through a portal and the portal closed. He was halfway through, so he was in essence chopped in half. His legs were left in the All Havens, but his body, torso, and everything went elsewhere. He was brought back later in the campaign, but he had spent time in the Hells being tortured, and one of the things that they did was they made him into a centaur-style creature where his front quarters were a horse, but his rear quarter was a goat. And that was all about because the DM knew I kept goats and wanted to take the piss out of me by making me part goat. So he's still basically the same character. He's still a little bit thick. He still uses a squirrel for that purposes, but he's now a centaur-esque character. And one of his unique abilities is that goats, as you may or may not know, when they shit little pellets. So he can shit pellets, which he then picks up in a sling and fire at you to give you poison damage.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Definitely unique. Definitely unique. What about you, Bertie, with Mouse?
I think with Mouse, it was more her backstory and how that impacted her. So she was very young. She was like 16, 17 throughout the games that we were playing. And she wasn't used to big cities. So when we went to the big city, she got up to all the characters, be like, "Can I hold your hand, please? Because this is scary." But she had dreadlocks in the hair, which they were attached to her head. And it was because when she was little...
It's kind of the way hair works.
No, it wasn't her actual fur. They had to be attached on because when she was little, some nasty other children put gum on her fur, on her head, so they had to shave off. She's a tabaxi, so she's covered in... I'm saying fur. She's a tabaxi. She's not just a very hairy person. So she had hair that was put on, and she did things to make herself look like she was very mean and confident, but actually she was very scared a lot of the time and hadn't had a lot of world experience. So with people, she had this book that she used that she would write in if people were good or bad, because that was her way of recording it. And it was also sometimes a way of writing them in view of other people so that they could be like, no, that person should be on the other side. So I think it was an innocence thing with her that I tried to portray, because a lot of the time when people come into it, they're like, we've done this and we've done that, we're really deadly, we're going to take them on. She's like, I'm just surviving and trying to see the world and make some friends. So,
Interesting. Would leave a lot of room for growth in the character.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Ash? Was that on, I suppose?
Well, good job, good comfort. Well,
What make him different from any other warlock? Because I imagine he started off with, he's got a patron and he's serving his patron. He's a bit shady. That's how most warlocks start, isn't it, generally? So what was different about Zaphon?
so Zaphon firmly believed. So when Zaphon entered the campaign, he was a worshipper of the god Asmodeus, rather than Azrael was a Norhaven's god because of the setting of that campaign, which, funny enough, was the same setting that Mouse and Thorin were both in. It's all one game. But he firmly believed that Asmodeus was a good god, and everything he was doing was good and right, and everyone should worship Asmodeus, and this is the right thing to do, and he couldn't understand anything differently. And I think the first interaction, if I remember right, with the party in Zaphon was in a tavern, and someone spoke to him, and he just reeled off basically the history of Asmodeus. And I had about 8 or 9 pages of notes. I just started reading. Just went through the whole thing and didn't stop until Chris, the DM, actually interrupted me and made me stop because I knew I was going to do it. So Zaphon believed he was good, even though he was doing bad. And that was a tricky balance to get as well for the party, because an evil character in a party can really cause problems if it's not managed properly in the right way. But I think Zaphon was alright in the party. I don't think he butted heads with too many people on the big issues.
I think Niall might have disagreed with that.
Yeah,
I think well, said something a few weeks ago about your book, the mouse pad, and the fact that Zaphon was in the middle, like completely in the middle, and couldn't tell which way he was.
And that's kind of what I wanted, is to tread that line. So the party feel like they're Zaphon's friend, even though what Zaphon is doing is very clearly not right by normal standards, like conducting funeral rites by essentially dedicating the body to Azrael.
Yes.
That's definitely not a good thing to do. In Zaphon's mind, it's the right thing to do, because who wouldn't want to worship Azrael, right?
And I think it was so well done, because it's a really good way of going, you always think you're the good guy, it just depends on which side you're on.
Mm-hmm.
So it like in a war, both sides think they're right, but the other side thinks they're the bad guy, and it's just that perspective and that point of view, and I think he played that really well, because it genuinely was like, I can't tell if you're doing all of this because you're actually super evil and just very good at manipulating, or you legitimately just think this way and you're a good person who's been twisted.
And a lot of that is credit to Chris as well, the DM, because he, obviously, me and Chris worked together with that to know what the future plan was, and that was all going to piece together. And I think the way he built the encounters allowed me to bring that out more as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the situations he put us in allowed me to explore that a little bit.
Gave you that moral choice to make.
Absolutely. But without there being a clear, this is the good option, this is the bad option, there was always that in the middle option for me to take, or the way I could blend the two together somehow. It's funny that you mentioned Niall and his character Adamar there, Andy, because that was always good fun. Because Zaphon firmly believed that they were very, very close, very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Adamar not so much. Until right up at the end, actually, I think the very last thing, Zaphon, I can't remember exactly what happened. Did Zaphon sacrifice himself for Adamar?
I believe
Something like that happens?
But I think it was also somewhat ambiguous as whether he sacrificed himself or this was his way of getting what he actually wanted.
Going to meet his God.
Yeah.
Which gets leads into that kind of character, doesn't it? Yeah. So that made Zaphon quite unique.
So which page was Thorin on in House's book?
I think it was on the good side. I think because it was fun, because we met one of the lords of one of the towns, and I think he started off on the good side, and then she switched sides with him because how he was with them, and she's like, he's rude, he's going over here.
That was all it had to be.
Yeah.
Party, you're in now.
Yeah. Man.
I would have thought Lizzie's character would have been switched to bad side, because 9 times out of 10 when she fired her bow, she shot one of us.
Yeah.
I think she was the only other character that Mouse had moments of going, I'm not sure about you. Because there were moments where she seemed to do things kind of outside of the group. And Mouse sometimes saw that as like, oh, is this is there something, are you actually not a good person? You're trying to, like, you're not
Be
working with the
sneaky
group.
and-
Yeah. You're going off on your own and you're making decisions against what the group would make, and that was the only other person she was like, interesting.
I think that's a really difficult balance in the game anyway, isn't it? You're saying about like the Zapon being a purely evil character, you know going into it you're going to have that, but sometimes people create an outsider character and it kind of happens a bit more organically, doesn't it? That
Yeah.
people end up with different agendas to the group. It's a really difficult thing, I think, for players to always understand and accept, as well as kind of DMs to manage.
And you can make a mistake as a player as well, can't you? You can say something and it be misunderstood by somebody, and you're not intending to give that across your character, but that's how it seems to the rest of the party.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nuance to that, isn't there?
So, did you get what you want from your characters in terms of where they started off and where they ended up? Did you feel their journey was what you wanted for them originally? Was it
No, because the campaign stopped before I wanted it to.
Yeah.
Just saying.
not no common problem, is it?
I mean, sorry, I'm conscious I might be hogging the mic here. Yes, for me, because he was my first character. Well, it was the first time I ever played D&D, and so he did evolve. Not just him as a character, but me as a player. When he started, I think he pretty much had my voice. I wasn't kind of comfortable enough putting on an accent or a voice. Gradually, as his character developed, and we realised that he was this stereotypical barbarian that would hit something hard without thinking, and therefore wasn't necessarily blessed with the greatness of grey matter, and his character, his personality changed accordingly, and I started to talk a little more intense, should we say, and made sort of decisions that were perhaps not quite the most intelligent option.
Was there any other significant change? You said about kind of his time in hell and then coming back. Was there any other significant character change or growth as part of that happening, or more subtle, I suppose, rather than more organic?
I think he wondered where his legs were. He would have liked to have seen his legs one more time. No, he was. I think he was glad to be back. One of the things that I was, without wishing to sound too mushy, but I think I was blessed with playing with people that were really warm, and they brought me. As a new player, they brought me into the group and made me feel welcome, and it was shown in the way that the characters developed. And I genuinely had this sort of affinity with those characters. I wanted to protect them, and as such, coming back, it gave me that opportunity to reconnect with my friends and to find them and to help them, and to a degree felt perhaps more empowered to do so, because not only could I exploit people with my big but I could poison them with my new shit-filled slingshot.
So much more versatile, wasn't it?
What about you, Bertie, with Mouse? Did you, where you envisaged her ending up? Is that where she kind of got to?
I think it's a similar thing. We didn't get an ending, so I think we thought it'd probably go on a bit longer, but things happen. There's been talk that we might get back into it, but you've got to do time jumps, and it's going, okay, well, what would have happened during those time jumps? I would like to have seen the person that she would have grown up into, and how those experiences would have shaped her, and what position or role she might have chosen to take in the world as a result of that, because you're not going to be like a travelling monk the whole time. You're going to settle down somewhere, so it would have been cool to see where she ended up and who she kept in contact with. I think there was a moment like with Thorin when he came back where she wasn't sure if he was good or not when he came back, because he was having trouble with his memories, and there was a fight that we were in, and as a result of the fight she realised, oh no, it is Thorin, it's him, he's back. And that was a really nice moment of where that relationship kind of went, oh, it's my friend, he's back again. And she was like, I know who this guy is, I trust him. and it was just good seeing that relationship. So to see how they would have grown would have been really
It was
cool.
it was a surprise for the other players because Thorin was killed because I was finding it difficult to commit to a number of different sort of things, you know, games that I was trying to run, games I was trying to play in. So I felt that this is the one perhaps I should give up. After a while, things changed, and I wanted to come back. And Chris was good enough to sort of say yes. So what he did was he actually sort of posed to the group that actually he had a friend who was going to sit in and listen, because he was interested in getting into D&T, and so he just wanted to listen to a session to see what it was like. But it was me sitting there waiting for Thorin to suddenly launch back out.
This was online.
So I was waiting to sort of be pulled back into the game, and it was for me personally, it was a magical experience because Thorin was back and he was getting to see it with his friend Ian, and the way that Chris sort of helped him make that happen was brilliant. Loved it.
Awesome. What about with Zaphon? Because obviously his story is a little bit different.
Just about
Wanted him to.
I mean,
It's not enough for you.
I think you said before that is kind of one of the journeys that you had in mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did it pan out exactly how you were kind of envisaged, or did
No.
it evolve as you went?
So the way Zaphon is and the way he was portrayed in Dark Ascension particularly was all based on the interactions he'd had with other party members, and that made him the person that he is, or the god that he is now. So he draws on those experiences, things like having that, considering Adamar a close friend, although Adamar doesn't consider him a close friend, Max not knowing whether he's good or evil. These all had an impact and a bearing on how Zaphon is and how he acts now as well. And he still draws on those experiences, even when I role play Zaphon now, I still draw on those experiences, thinking about what Zaphon would have experienced in his own life and how that might impact him as a god.
FYI, Thorin doesn't like it.
See, and this is the problem, because Zaphon will listen to Thorin as a friend.
What I'm really curious to know, was there any possible chance that he could have gone a different route and not gone the way he did?
From
Was it set in stone?
From my perspective as a player, if the game had gone that way, then yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Obviously, I can't talk on behalf of Chris, who's the DM, I don't know, but yeah, there would have been a different arrangement for the way the story of the world panned out. So that campaign has influenced every other game that's been run that involves Zaphon in any way, shape or form, which is most of them.
For anyone who doesn't like Zaphon, we need to blame Mouse, Thorin, Adamar, bad party members. You're upsetting.
Or thank us, because he could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
I mean, he's pretty bad. He's done some pretty bad things.
Cool. So, in terms of playing characters then, and the actual gameplay, interacting with NPCs, interacting with environments, how do you use what you've built into your character and the environment around them to come up with interesting and creative ways of tackling problems?
I think it's dependent on the type of character you're playing. If you're playing it true to it, if you're playing like a barbarian, for example, you're going to hit it. If you're playing a wizard, you might go, maybe there's another way, there's a secret door, or there's a spell I can cast. So I think it really depends on who you're playing it as.
One of my other characters, Bryn, we did have a rather interesting. We were trying to get through this sort of high security area, I think it was, and Bryn is a tiefling blood hunter, but he can transform into a werewolf. So basically, what I did was transform into a werewolf, but stripped all my armor off and everything, and then one of the other characters pretended to be blind, and I was his guide dog. So we kind of wandered through, pretending that I just, as his guide dog, had led him into the wrong way. I mean, I think at one point in my lichen form, I even stitched up the statue of an important member of the city council or whatever it was.
Yeah, you were trying to infiltrate a Gnomish Guild airship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's not that. Absolutely not.
I think one of my favourite examples of something like that is where playing it to how the character would is I was playing in one of the games some kind of magic wielder and we were underwater on like a submarine, but we were getting attacked by some sharks and I was like, spells, what can I do? And one of the spells was you could control water and it said you could like basically make the water disappear. So in the area that the sharks were at the back of the submarine, I divided the water so that they weren't in water anymore. So they just like dropped. Because well, we can escape still, and they're just gonna sit there until I let this go. And I was like, but it seems like the only thing you would do with this spell. It's like the only good use for it. But apart from that, I don't know how you're going to stop a shark. We weren't doing well either, I don't think, at that point. But that was like that makes so much sense. Rather than just be like, I can't do anything until it gets inside because I just hit things.
I think there's quite a lot of that, isn't there? Is some people looking at their character at first glance and going, oh, well, I'm a barbarian, so I just hit things. And actually, there is a lot more you can do.
Yeah.
There are limits, obviously.
Yeah.
I think that some of the beauty of this gaming system is that there's a lot of third-party stuff that is acceptable and useful. I mean, I know that I've spoken about it in the past. There is a game that I play that is predominantly a board game, and it's a beautiful board game, but they have official 5e rulebook for it. So you can incorporate some of the materials from this board game into a 5e game. And it has new classes, new races as well. And I'd love to sort of give them a go because they're unusual. Because most people they would have played with an orc character or a bugbear or a Goliath or an elf or anything like that. But playing with a gloom folk, which is I guess the best way to describe it is a centaur, but without the bottom half being a horse, the bottom half is a giant scorpion. I think that would be something completely different. It could bring a different flavour to the game. It has different classes. One of the classes that it has is a dragon knight. Now, a dragon knight can sound very sort of, it could be Paladin-esque. It could be even sort of one of the dragon guards in our world. But one of the abilities that the dragon knights have is that at certain levels they can physically turn into dragons. So I think at level 7 I can become a young dragon. At level 10 or 13 or whatever, I can become an adult dragon. At level 20 I can be an elder dragon. Which again, it's a new flavour, it's something different, something new. I'd love to have that opportunity. Just looking at you, Ash, because every time I say, can I play one of these characters, you say no.
Are they balanced? Sort of balanced with a...
I would imagine, I don't know. I sort of never had the opportunity to play it. I mean,
Scorpion.
Salt in the wind.
6 attacks. 2 from each.
I can't imagine so. The fact that they've been officially licensed as a 5e product, I can't believe that they would get away with adding that little sort of badging if it hadn't gone through a process with
Somebody.
the official sort of gaming powers that be.
What about you, Ash? Either as a player or experienced kind of DMing, interesting creative uses?
I think the times where I see things like that happen the most effectively or the best are when a player doesn't think about it in terms of what would my character do, but what does my character want to achieve? Like what's that character's end goal? Are you trying to get home? Are you trying to find someone? Are you trying to build something? Whatever it is, and being able to use those abilities to further that. And they're good ways that characters then start thinking about how does this fit into the bigger picture, rather than just an isolated thing. Like if they come across an item, like an unusual item, looking at that item with a view to how that might help you to find your way home. changes how you might interact with it. So rather than picking it up and casting the, I thought I named the spell.
But identify
Spell, thank you, yeah. Cast identify spell, and you might look at it and go, oh, actually, this looks like it might be used for navigation, so can I use this on a map, or can you do something different with it? That's how I've seen things work slightly differently and more effectively and more interestingly as well, rather than relying on a spell or an effect.
I think that's one of the most frustrating, and I know I'm absolutely guilty of it myself, is that's one of the most difficult scenarios to navigate not metagaming. When you get something and you go, it's magic, it could be good magic, it could be bad magic, I'm not just going to put it on and just see what happens. I'm going to try and figure it out first to try and overcome that possible outcome. And I definitely wish I would be brave enough to just go, I'm just going to put this scarf on and see what happens, rather than going, someone tell me what it is before I do anything with it.
But really though, if you grew up in a world where from a child magic was a thing, cursed items were a thing, you wouldn't put anything on without knowing what it is.
Yeah.
I did.
Wouldn't, would you?
I did when electricity was first invented. I think that was magic.
It is light but no fire. What is?
Awesome.
Are there any classes or races that anyone hasn't played that you'd like to play?
There's Rogue Soul Life. Is that the one? In there?
To Central.
I think it would be a cool concept. So I've played Rogues before, which ended up as a multi-class into Cleric as well for narrative reasons, which was awesome. But yeah, Soul Life I think would be fun.
That's what I had, wasn't it? Oh,
For like a week,
yeah,
that's really counts.
2 weeks. Like that last for me, don't you, Stuart? Killing another one of my characters.
Yeah, I think it'd be a fun mechanic to be able, especially in the long run. Just sit there thinking this is like the Dragonbound campaign where it's city-based, that ability to kind of throw your knife and teleport to it. And just opens a whole load of creative avenues, I think.
That's cool.
There's loads that I haven't played I'd like to. The Druid, I'll have a go at Druid.
I have a nice model you could use for that.
I do.
You saw it earlier today, you muppet. From Warcrow.
Oh, yes.
I think Artificer is one that I hear mentioned. I have no clue what it is, but it sounds interesting. I think it's where you can create stuff as you go along, which is quite cool. But again, I don't know if it would be overwhelming in the sense of like how a wizard can be overwhelming, the things you've got to remember. But that might be quite cool to. A Warforged Artificer would make sense because you're literally made. So being a made person that made stuff makes sense.
Oh, I forgot about D7. D7, my Warforged. I based him on like Data from Star Trek universe. So he had no personality. He was very dry. Everything was quite literal.
His eyes leg glued out.
Oh my God. That's right. It really does. They're all celebrating a victory, and they're all hearing everyone else.
I'm something to do. I'm like, what? They're gonna actually no. Yeah.
No, I'm fine.
Nobody's dead.
Thanks, guys. I mean, I would like to, nudge, wink, try some of the other stuff that I've spoken about. But actually, another one that does spring to mind, and it kind of, I could probably merge it or be influenced by one of my other gaming passions. I could be a paladin, but base it on a certain group of people from a game that has a number and a letter behind it. I'm being Grey Knight, be some sort of Grey Knight. 40k. Actually,
I was going to say, you're being really cryptic.
I was trying to avoid advertising, but okay, 40k. I was going to 40k, Grey Knight.
Demon hunting paladins. Quite cool.
Have you found there's been any restrictions when you've got an idea for a character that's popped in your head that you've looked through and gone, I just can't build my demon hunting paladin.
Yeah.
There's not the right combination.
Yeah, I say, can I use this stuff in Tenari's and actually?
So how do you get around that? Have you found any ways of relabeling stuff, or?
One I've always wanted to do is a really buff wizard, like a high strength wizard. And I have, to be fair, I've not spent a lot of time with it, but that's something I want to try and make work.
I do love the idea of mixing, like multi-classing between classes that, as far as the PHP is concerned, you cannot do.
Yeah.
Like going, your strength has to be this, but your charisma has to be this. That's always fun. So I don't know. I don't think I know it well enough to think of something that isn't possible. Generally, my stuff is quite simple. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just pick that'll do. But I know there are some people out there who make some incredible builds.
Yeah.
I'm just like we'll be playing a game and I'm like, I hit you once. And then someone walks up and does 7 things on a turn because of how
3 auras.
Yeah, I'm like, where did you even find that in the book to start off with?
That always amazes me with his character builder stuff, because although his characters are always very narrative, aren't they? There's an element of min-maxing in there as well, which is not, it's clearly not the intention, but he's built them in such a way that he gets the most out of those builds.
Yeah,
he did interesting to watch.
An amazing circle of stars druid.
Yeah.
And this druid has like a cloak with star constellations that he can shine light through.
Yeah.
And project the stars and project star maps and stuff, and it's just so cool.
I think, Bertie, you're disadvantaged though when you're playing, because you always tend to play as 2 characters, because you tend to play with your dad and have to tell him what to do as well.
That is true. I have been putting off doing characters for a game that's coming up because I know that it's not just my characters I've got to create. I don't have to just do 3, I have to do 6. So I've been putting it off, but...
Thank God for the D&amp.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of like hench wizard and stuff like that.
Oh,
it's
God,
like,
yeah.
who says intelligent people can't hit the gym? Well,
Yeah.
Look, I'm sitting here, I'm definitely not a gym here. Doesn't know me. But yeah, you can have a wizard with high strength. It's just, what are you going to dump instead, isn't it, in terms of stats?
It's
I mean, I
just like those animes where you have like the old guy who's all, or like...
It's monks though, isn't it? The old monks.
Yeah, or what was the World of Warcraft film with the orcs, and then you've got like spoiler alert, the creepy old one who always seemed to be hunched over, and then when he finally gets in a fight, he stands up and he's ripped. It's like, okay, but he was like a magic caster as well, so he was like basically do him and you'll get what you want.
Awesome. And character death. Let's have a bit of a chat about character death. Who's had characters die?
Looking at Ash.
Yes.
Yes. I know Ash has, but have you had any of your characters die in the game?
Do you know what? I don't think I have.
Oh, we can change that next session.
Yeah, I think the thing is I don't mind a character death. I think I've died but then been resurrected sort of thing, so not a full death. But it's the same way as I love rolling in that one, because I love it when things go wrong. I think that's so much more interesting. But there's something in that my DMs are very graceful and they don't fully kill me. I've gotten very close to a point I'm like, I got hit and I'm down, and then they've gone, they're going to ignore you and they're just going to cover it. I'm like, thank you very much.
What about you, Anna? How do you deal with character death? Like, for you as a player, I know you said you were stepping away from the table, but how did you deal with?
I was a tad, I've got to admit, when they let D7 just bleed out, and they spent all that time, because it wasn't just me, there were other people down, and they actually went and helped them, they healed them, and they just left me there dying. I'm thinking, I've put in my heart and soul into this character. I've helped you guys throughout this sort of campaign, and you just leave me to die, you bastards.
How did that manifest at the table with your fellow players?
He kicked off.
Through the table in the air, dice went everywhere, bodies went in. No, I don't.
Of he was playing at home, so it was just
what about you, Ash? Obviously, you've had more experience with this recently than anybody else.
Stuart killed me 6 times
6.
in one campaign. 6 times?
Yeah, right.
So I was.
What are you doing to him to make him want to kill
So
him?
he is adamant that it is
He
him.
even got Zeke to kill him once.
So I had a Drake Warden Ranger Paladin multi-class Goliath, absolutely love, which has a more Drake Rider, who actually died because of John.
Okay.
He got petrified, and we were trying to lift him out of the tomb, so we decided to stick him in a bag of holding. What we didn't realise, this bag of holding was only a foot deep, so while he was petrified, the bag cut his legs off.
Well, you're just not going to know that, so that's not
No.
technically his fault.
I'm still blaming John.
Okay.
Death
Death number 2.
number 2 was a Warforged wizard, a divination wizard called Sentinel Zero.
Yeah.
That was number 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, he didn't see it coming.
Still too soon.
Okay.
He messed about with teleportation circle, eaten by spiders. That was my fault. I can't blame anyone else but me for that one.
Yeah.
Then there was... oh shit, who was next? Felix?
Yeah.
So this is probably one of the ones I had the most fun with. Felix was a human drunken master monk. And
Nice.
he was so fast.
He was from Timberminster.
He was from Timberminster and he was unbelievably quick. So quick I was sorry, Stuart, but I could move 100 and something feet a turn and still attack.
Damn.
And just thought that was awesome. And then just as we got to the point where I'm like, oh, well, it's from Timberminster, so let's start thinking about how I can bring lycanthropy into this and all that kind of stuff. He died. I can't remember how he died.
That was the big shadow creatures that pounced on that hut.
Oh yeah, some horrible creature that Stuart threw out.
All spiking damage. It was horrendous.
That was awful. It wasn't awful like it was a terrible game of D&D. I'd never play it again. It was awful like it's just horrendous amounts of damage.
Yeah.
Like, good done. Then there was who was next? Rolmir?
Yeah.
Rolmir was a blue-skinned tiefling paladin
Mm-hmm.
who was a devotee of Zaphon, a champion in Zaphon's Azrael's army that hated Zaphon. So it was him, and he managed to basically complete the campaign, so to speak, and managed to get his way home, which was the whole idea of the campaign. So then I played Kaiser, who was a fairy soul knife rogue. He literally lasted 2 weeks and then died. And I'm now playing Averin Fritz, which is a life cleric. Currently still alive.
The one
Well, no.
upside, though, is that you are getting to play so many different.
This is what I've said. Every time Stuart kills me, he's like, I'm really sorry, but then again, don't worry, I actually get to play some different characters I never get to play. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
The only original character, we've only got one person who actually started that campaign as live. Like everybody else has died at least once.
Phil's still in there.
Phil's still in there from the beginning.
I would have a question about that though. Is how I know you kind of don't have a choice, but then how do you keep the group together if it's not the same people? If a lot of them are getting changed out, how do you mechanically kind of work it so that they still want to be together and go into the same goal without it feeling forced?
So the way Stuart's done is quite clever because we've been transported to this place where we shouldn't be and we all want to get home, but we're all from the All Havens.
Okay.
So our goal is the same, regardless of who he introduces into that campaign. The goal is we want to get home.
Right. Okay.
So regardless.
So it works really well in that scenario.
Yeah.
The only I think the only bit Stu's struggling, I think sometimes as a DM is he knows he's told us, like as players, he knows stuff because we've been in from the beginning and then he got all these new characters who are just like, well, who was that? Where are we going? And it's Phil's character kind of having to remind us all, isn't it?
I think we've just said now when a new character comes along, we will just assume that Phil's character has filled us in. Just assume that's happened.
Same time goes 50-minute download every single way.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite complicated, this campaign, as well as lots of NPCs and names and locations.
And it doesn't help that you've got nicknames for almost every NPC.
Oh, really?
I don't like, no, I would never play D&D with
Like
them.
L'Oreana is Lily Allen, you know. No one knows who anybody is. So, yeah.
It's good fun.
It's good fun. But yeah, that whole campaign set, and Stu's keeping that really gritty anyway, isn't it? So
He's trying to.
death has to be a real thing. In the
Yeah, absolutely, which is fair enough. And if a player character's going to die, a player character's going to die.
Yeah.
I think it's a big difference between dying in a one-shot and dying in a campaign, though. Because I've probably died in a one-shot, but I don't know a campaign that I've been in. But with a one-shot, I feel like it doesn't really matter.
I think it's interesting because in some ways I agree it matters less narratively, but then I think it has more of an impact on the person if you die in a one shot. Because you think I introduce a new character quickly there's no beyond this section. So if you die right at the very end of the boss fight in a one shot,
It's fine, isn't it?
do you introduce a new character?
Mm.
Well, if not, what happens if you've still got 45 minutes of that boss fight left?
I think to a degree it also depends on the player because
Yeah.
I imagine I can only speak for myself. If I died in a one shot, I wouldn't probably have become so emotionally attached to my character, and therefore, if he's dead, he's dead. If someone kills Thorin now, that's going to be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I must be honest, I'd be the same. I have had characters die in one shots, and it's, shrug, move on, throw your next character in to finish it off, or just, like you say, you're in the last boss fight, I'm just going to sit back and watch the carnage. Don't bother trying to introduce kind of thing, and I'm happy to do that as a player.
Yeah.
When Benny died in Stu's campaign, I was a bit like, oh, we're dead. Oh, that's a bit sad. But then we completely started that fight. I don't know if it would have started anyway, but we completely, as players, we instigated that fight and he attacked us and we didn't run away because we were going to beat it. And so I had a level of exhaustion, I think, when we were going into that fight. We weren't in a good place to have a scrap, and we did it anyway. But thinking back to our first campaign, where it's no capital dodge now. If the future narrative, if you end up destroying that town and killing him, I'd be really upset. Really upset about it. So, whilst sort of on the topic of character death, then backup characters. Do you guys create backup characters or?
Sorry, what?
A backup character.
No, I never heard of it.
Well, I've seen you, Ash, especially in Stu's game, where you died, I think, like in the first hour or one. I'm sitting there building your character in the remaining time for your next character. So how do you go, I suppose, question sort of, how do you create a new character quickly for a campaign or a session and still get that love and that feeling into it?
I think the way that I make characters lends itself to that because I have a concept in my mind of what I want that character to do or be. Mm-hmm. So already I know what I'm trying to achieve, and I just need to find the bits of the jigsaw that fit that puzzle. Yeah. So that makes it fairly simple.
What about for you, Andy? Creating a character, how long does it take you to
6 years.
Process?
I probably don't go through a creative process. I just look at the pictures, I read a little bit of the background on D&D Beyond and sort of, it looks interesting, and I try that, and then pop struggle fantasy on, I've got a character. I think I probably develop it more once I'm playing it and I become more familiar with it and I sort of build on its character and its development rather than think about what I want it to be from the start.
Interesting. 30?
I think it's another one that it depends on if you're doing a campaign or doing a one-shot, because I've learned not to put in too much effort in a one-shot because you're more than likely going to die easier than in the campaign. But also, the effort that you put in doesn't always come to fruition. So I remember doing one, and we were playing evil characters, and had this backstory and these details, and we were in a barn trying to intimidate someone. So a character was in front of me trying to intimidate this person, and I was behind them, and I was like using all this major image to make myself look all decrepit and stuff. And the other person in there was like, what are you doing? I don't, like the actual person was like, I don't understand what you're doing. I was like, I'm trying to help you intimidate here. And I was like, it's just all of the effort. I was like, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. Let's just just focus on what skills I have and then just have that happen. And then the character comes a bit as you're playing. I build a backup character when I'm told to. Otherwise I'm not doing it. It's just too much work. But I only tend to have thoughts about the main character that I'm playing. I think it's almost too heavy.
Creating a backup is cheating on your main.
Yeah, and also you don't want to be sitting there with your main one and going, actually, this one isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be. I kind of want to die because I think the other one might be more fun. Mm-hmm. So if I try and put that effort into the main one, I think you put a bit more into it. And then if you option to die, it's like, okay, but I got to have a bit of fun with it. But also when I'm creating characters for other people as well, it makes it
more mature, less of a...
Yeah, I use that auto character generator thing on. Sometimes when you're just doing a one shot, it's like I just need someone quick just to send a sheet across, so I'll figure it out when I get there.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? If if you're not particularly fussed about what class it is necessarily you want to try, well, that's the only thing you think, oh, I want to try a fighter.
Yeah.
That's easy to pick, isn't it? And then if you use something like the auto generator, that just gives you like, oh, you're 25 or whatever. So, you've got a brother, some parents, you were a baker's apprentice before you went off travelling or whatever. That's enough, isn't it? To kind of go, okay, I can.
It depends on the person.
I know a lot about
as well.
bread when I get into a conversation. That's cool.
A lot of people really focus on the abilities of the character, and that's what they're getting enjoyment out of.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to do this and do that and do that. Whereas I don't look into that side of it very much at all. I get my enjoyment more out of the RPing side and listening to the DM describe the environment that we're in. So when we get into a fight, I'm like, I'll hit it. I'm not fussed. I'll just hit it, or I'll throw something at it. But other people are like, I want to do this spell and then I'm going to twin it with this, and that's where they get their enjoyment from it. So it depends on the person as well.
I mean, if Ash now actually announced that we are likely to venture into a part of the Allhavens where we could stumble across a small tribe of gloom folk people, then G is going to shoot an arrow that's going to ricochet up a rock and kill him, so I can have a gloom folk character. So it would need Ash to say, yeah, that's happening.
Yeah, I don't think you can see that.
You can see the tunnel. Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying as well, Ash, isn't it? It's about that concept and using the rules and the mechanics of the character to support your concept, not using the mechanics to just drive power play kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier, a lot more fun.
That's one of the things as a DM I hate it most when I get some character sheet and I know that the player has just gone, well, what's the most damage I can do? Or how can I get the most hit points and be absolutely unkillable? How do I make sure my AC is north of 20 all the time? And things like that. It's like, come on, where's the flavour and where's the character? Because realistically, maybe 30% of what you do is going to be a fight, and the other 70% you're going to be talking and interacting, skill traits, skill-driven narratives, role plays, puzzles.
I did that for, I think, Nathan, when we were first kind of getting involved. First online game I played, Nathan was DMing. I created a half-orc stuff. It had an AC of something like 22.
Yeah.
Like, did 2 hits, but nothing special. There was a big fight, everyone else is kind of doing lots of different stuff, and they basically blocked a tunnel entrance. There's about 3 of them trying to get through. They couldn't hit me. I couldn't really hit them because their AC was quite high as well. Basically stood there until the party cleaned up everyone else, and then they blasted the through. It was honestly the most boring character I've ever played.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
tough.
I'm with Bertie. I personally, I appreciate we're all different, so we're all going to look for different things to get different things out of the game. But I'm recognising that more of the game is based around roleplay, I tend to sort of focus more on that than I do on the actual combat. Don't be wrong, I enjoy the combat. I don't think I'll ever create a character that is particularly OP in either defence or attack. I probably don't know how to, if I'm honest, but I still enjoy the game very much.
What about as players dealing with sort of player death? We talked a bit about player death as an individual and happening to your players. What about dealing with it when it's other players at the table? What advice would you give for people when somebody else is going through their character's final moments?
Suck it up, buttercup.
Sweep it up, move along.
Situation. If they're really sad about it, then the worst situation is when a character death is just like brushed over. It's like, oh, you failed your last death save, it's done. When nothing's made of it. But if it's someone who's put a lot of effort into that character, maybe it's the first time they played, the first time they've had a character death, just actually giving time to that, to go, okay, what your character's faith was this, where do you think that they would go after they die, or what rites would the other characters perform? Because it is a lot of just leaving dead bodies everywhere through a lot of the campaigns. As people die, well, we're just going to leave that body, we ain't going to do nothing with it. So it's just respecting that side of it, instead of just going, it's not real, so why does it matter, kind of thing.
I think you're right. I think it's about respecting their idea, isn't it? And what they've come up with, what they've created. and that's the only opportunity I'm going to have as a player to interact with that person anymore in that form before I take on a new character or lead the campaign or whatever. So give them the opportunity to be laid to rest or memorialised in some way, I think is the best way of dealing with it.
I'd get a lighter and take their figure off the board and then just melt it and say that was their funeral pyre.
And how many lawsuits have you got now, Andy?
7.
Yeah.
I think it's important to give people that final moment when it's happening. It's just to stay quiet, be respectful at the table. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Often there's a lot of noise and chatter at the table, isn't there? And taking that moment just to let the players say goodbye
Yeah.
to their little creation and move on to kind of thing. I think that's where we'll end today's session. Thank you all very much for listening, and as always, thank you to my lovely co-hosts. We'll see you next time. And that's this week's episode concluded. It's time to thank our Patreon members. Our Ruby membership, Joshua, Alberta, Paul, Dave R, Claire, Laura, Jason.
Emerald membership, Stuart. Sapphire membership, Becca M, Gary, Neil.
Diamond Geezers, Zeke, Lizzie, Chris, Martin, John, Bertie and Ash.
And of course our Obsidian members, Ant, James, Becca GS, Ethan, Niall, Dave F, and finally our 2 ruling council members, Chris and Sophia. Thank you so much all of you for your support and for helping us do what we do.